another opportunity to remind ourselves of the precious reality that each of us is. Peace and ease, that is the very peace and ease of our nature when we remember to, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, to opportunity to reclaim our heritage, this natural peace and ease. He says, you are the richest person on earth. We've been going around begging for a living. So I'm curious how many of you have thought of yourself as the richest person on earth this week. This is an opportunity to not just sense this, not just apply these words of inner riches, but to recognize it by direct experience. So I'm inclined a little bit, just because of the weirdness of this format, to invite you to say good evening to each other. And as we often do, feel free to say where you're calling in from. Show your show your face if you're willing to. And say good evening.
Hi from Regina.
Very
Hey,
good.
Jill.
Hello from Victoria, British Columbia.
Wow.
Hi. From San Francisco.
Yeah.
Up in Humboldt and it's raining.
Really?
Oh, nice.
Yippee.
Hi, everyone.
Santa Barbara here.
San
From
Francisco.
Maryland.
Hi,
From
Howie.
San Francisco.
San Francisco in the house.
Sacramento in the house.
Portland,
Hey.
Oregon.
Great.
Matia said in Guerrero.
Hi from Austin.
So, well, please consider dedicating your practice to all the people who have to live around you. Your community members, your family members, your friends, and realize that the quality of your heart and mind, your presence, is really the most important thing that you can offer. So hopefully it'll give a little boost to your practice tonight and your practice every day, that it matters to the people in your life, the people in our life. So without too much feeding of the reflective mind right now, I'd like to invite every one of you to celebrate that vital fact, that ultimate fact that Suzuki Roshi says, the ultimate fact that we are aware. There's nothing more miraculous than just this ultimate fact. So be aware of the fact that you are aware, that it is, you could say it's your primary nature, more than your gender or other identities, just being aware. And notice what naturally fills your awareness. It's likely to be your sense experiences, your sitting body. And if you close your eyes, you'll be able to feel that direct experience of the sitting body, not the idea of it. Just let yourself feel the gentle stillness, a sense of aliveness. More subtly, you might feel a sense of pulsing or vibrating, throbbing. You may feel some hardness or pressure. Temperature. This is just the experience of nature as it expresses itself in our bodies. So our back to nature practice, awareness is nature and natural. The other elements, earth, air, fire, and water that make up our body. We bring it all together. And if we're feeling any of these things directly, we are in what we call present time. We can sense that the past is just a memory, future is just a dream, that this really is the only reality. We often forget to check in here. So obsessed with what's next that we fail to experience ourselves as beings, human beings. So here's our opportunity to be aware, be present. Let go of these words and just experience this. By this time, you're likely to be drawn to the gentle expansion and contraction of your body when it breathes. You're drawn to the air passing the nostrils, the chest or belly rising and falling. We connect with these experiences because they're here, because our attention settled in our physical experience brings a sense of focus, brings a sense of calm. Brings a letting go of our preoccupations. It's a medicine of harmonizing our mind and body. Settling our jangled nervous systems. Resting in this natural peace. Staying attentive to the flow of the breath or other physical sensations. Anchoring our attention in what's here. And when what's here are moods and emotions, we let them be felt like internal weather. When what's here are thoughts and images, we let them float through our mind like clouds, and we notice them. When it's quiet, we notice quiet. When it's just the breath, it's just the breath. Being aware, supported by the breath and body, but graciously receiving any experience that moves to the foreground of our awareness. Sounds, other sensations, everything welcome. Equal opportunity, mindful attention, just this moment, just this breath, or whatever becomes predominant. Relieving of ourselves of problem solving, ego building, comparing, becoming, just meeting life as it is. Just this moment. Just this breath, or whatever's here. Soft mind, yet alert, gentle, loving awareness, yet precise. Intimately feeling the texture of this unfolding now. Just this breath. I'm hoping for you that the moment you wake up to where you are, no matter how long you've been lost in thought, that you're delighting in the return to awareness, the natural state, not looking back and judging, evaluating, just appreciating that re-arising awareness, and in the support of remaining anchored to this living present, connecting again, attention with a felt sense of body and breath, just this moment. Stop meditating, just be aware. Stop being a meditator, just be the awareness that you are. Just this moment. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for your practice. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to, I don't know why I want to say this tonight, but to save myself. I just felt as though maybe you can relate to this. I felt today that I had fallen into a slightly jangled nervous system, and I do think it's in this world that we live in right now, just systemically, it's, if you don't feel jangled from time to time, I don't think you're one of us. I think if you're a sensitive human being, you'll feel jangled. Anyway, I felt a bit jangled and my nervous system felt a little tweaked. But then, because I was leading this group with you tonight, I remembered what I needed to remember. And then, of course, sat and heard myself use the words of Thich Nhat Hanh about reclaiming my heritage. I'm the richest person on earth. You're the richest person on earth. And lo and behold, I remembered that what could be called our only true refuge, which is the silence, peace and ease that lives in us as the very natural state of our mind when we are not going out of ourselves in search, when we're not caught up in that, what the Buddha called the state of becoming, bhava. That when we settle back into the moment, have our mind in the same location as our bodies, stay here, and we realize that there is within us, our natural state, you might say, is silent. And this doesn't mean tonight or anytime, it doesn't mean that when we meditate, we quiet our minds. We don't quiet our minds when we meditate. What we do is rediscover the quietness that is always already present in open relaxation and letting go. It's there. And we just fail to look sometimes for extended periods of time, fail to remember what is actually offered to us. That is our birthright. That is really a very beautiful thing that is easy to miss. That seems to be independent of circumstances. You know, all of us want to be happy. I think it drives our lives. But the Buddha was very clear about some kinds of happiness that leads to more stress. He called the kind of happiness that leads to more stress, they called it dependent happiness. The happiness that depends on conditions. Now, Nicole just put in the chat box that it's raining. Of course, that brings us great pleasure. In the Bay Area anyway, maybe it wouldn't if it's the Pacific Northwest, where it rains a lot. But here, that condition of rain brings a sense of happiness. But if I make my sense of well-being dependent on rain, I'm happy when it rains and unhappy when it doesn't. And that's not happiness. That is what the Buddha called a dependency. And I hate to use this word, but It's sometimes been translated as the happiness of bondage. Of course, with the kinds of bondage that really occur in this world that are just unspeakable, that word's a little heavy. But for the purpose of this conversation, to see how we'll break it down a little bit, how do we bind ourselves to this state, a state of waiting to be happy, wanting to be happy, hoping to be happy, and all the while putting ourselves in a state of suspended happiness and losing sight of the natural happiness of being aware, the silence of awareness. I always think of the teacher Nisargadatta who says, all search for happiness is misery and leads to more misery. That the only happiness that's worth that name is the happiness of being awake. And as we remember tonight, how far did we have to travel to be awake? How far did we have to travel to find that one true, maybe only true refuge? The refuge of the Buddha. Buddha means awake, aware. How far do we travel? So I'm just so relieved, in fact, in a sense, to remember what needs to be remembered, and then to realize just how much. Just reading today in the New York Times about the hundreds of thousands of people who have left Myanmar, Burma, and have gone into India, and what a migration catastrophe is in the works. Not enough services, not enough care for all the various migrations that are happening in the world. And then the people who within our own polarized world of politicized COVID and vaccines and anti-vaccines and then all the injustices of climate and health and social, just economic, it's just endless. How important it is to savor this silence that is available to us. Savor the great good fortune of being able to be together and be able to even talk about these things and remember these things in the midst of such a world of sorrow, stress. So tonight, silence and savoring are, at least they're in my mind, and gratitude and appreciation for the natural peace that is the natural peace and ease of our nature, that we can so easily not stop to remember is here, and how nourishing it is. Before we started tonight, we'll get to announcements a little later. I picked up my little book of Hafez, which turns out that it's more of the poetry of Daniel Ladinsky, and not exactly what Hafez said, but I really like this simple poem called Your Medicine. If you've not been taking your medicine lately, by saying your prayers every day, how can Hafez seriously listen to all your heartaches about life or God, how can we complain really? How can we really hear our cries unless we stop and listen? Take our medicine. What's our medicine? It's not to quiet our minds. It's not to quiet our bodies. It's to notice how the mind quiets, how the body quiets when we just tune in to this ultimate fact of awareness and discover its nature as silence, as openness, as receptivity, as impartiality, as the source of all the wealth of heartfulness and intelligence and intuition, all embedded in this ultimate refuge called the Buddha. I don't mean the historical Buddha, I mean the Buddha that lives in each of us. This very body, this very mind is the Buddha. I often quote from Hakuin Zenji, says how sad that people ignore the near and search for truth afar. But those who turn and bear witness to nature, that is no nature, it doesn't, you can't put it in a box in words. We call it emptiness, call it awareness, call it silence. Forget all these names. And even though there's great benefit to the project of training the mind, I think I got involved with that last week. I think partly identities, egos really need projects. They need problems to solve. And so it's a useful thing to train your mind, to train your heart, to incline toward goodness, toward harmlessness. But all of it really is in service of mostly exhausting your mind and revealing to you what's always already here. That's why I think that's why the Buddha says, go to the Buddha for refuge. Doesn't mean become a Buddhist, doesn't mean go bow at the lotus feet of the most beautiful statue, even though that can be a beautiful way of connecting with you, with that heart within you. So it's a useful form too. But all of it is really in the service of having you turn your attention at your nature of awareness, minus the word. Notice what happens when you're just aware, for a moment even. Notice what happens to your body when there's awareness. Notice what happens to your mental disturbances. It all, in that moment of being aware, it evaporates. The dust settles. The dust of memory settles. And there's quiet. We just forget to check in. It's beckoning all the time. So savor that, recognize it, savor it. The sense that without any accomplishing, earning, becoming, without needing to make it happen, it's offered to you. It's my partner Annie says, life is for you. You are already the richest person on earth. Life is for you. I always think of And I dug it up this evening because I had a feeling I might start riffing on this topic, but I always think of the beautiful poem Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. She says, you don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, I'll tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain, yea, are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. You don't have to be good. You don't have to prove yourself. The preoccupation of the identity, which is not you. It's not what you imagined yourself to be. It's this amazing expression of life. And the nature of this, it's like, wow, it's conscious and has the capacity of attentiveness and it has the capacity of love and clarity. It's given to you, it's offered to you. And the whole of the Dharma is like that. It's an invitation. It's not a proving ground for your what's the word I'm looking for? For your sufficiency, or what's the word? For your worthiness. You're intrinsically worthy. Let's see if I have it with me tonight. From Shantideva, the author of the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, the heart's impulse to want to be of benefit. It says, as a blind man feels when he finds a pearl in a dustbin, so am I amazed at the miracle of awakening rising in my consciousness. It is the nectar of immortality that delivers us from death, the treasure that lifts us above poverty into the wealth of giving to life, the tree that gives shade to us when we roam about scorched by life, the bridge that takes us across the stormy river of life, the cool moon of compassion that calms our mind when it is agitated, the sun that dispels darkness, the butter made from the milk of kindness by churning it with the Dharma. It is a feast of joy to which all are invited. So this invitation does not depend on what you have accomplished. It's just a matter of, as the Buddha said in one passage, he said in Pali, it goes something like, ehi paseko opanayeko pachatanwe ditapu winyuhiti. For all those who are interested and who can be taught, to come and see for yourself. I think that's maybe one of the most inspiring things that really turned me toward the Dharma when I started, is nobody was telling me that I had to become a true believer. Said, come and see for yourself. Ehi passiko opanaiko. It's offered to you, your own nature, this silence, this healing medicine, this salve. Of course, the encouragement is to take your medicine. Again, from Hafez, if you've not been taking your medicine lately by saying your prayers every day, how can Hafez seriously listen to all your heartaches about life or God? It's just asking us to take a look, to sense, not to postpone, not to get caught in the idea that you have to wait until it rains, until conditions are ripe, until everyone, till the pandemic is over, till everyone's happy. And, you know, when I think of that only true refuge, is sometimes called the Buddha, awake, and whatever the fragrance of that wakefulness, silence, sufficiency, the dignity, the healing salve of quiet. I think of the alternatives to going to the Buddha for refuge, going to what's actually here, the Dharma for refuge, to nature, to the Sangha that reminds us of this. What's the alternative? What the Buddha realized is going to our pride, our accomplishments, our roles, but especially our pride in what the Buddha called the three prides that seem to be the most sticky for us. This is where we go for refuge. The first pride is the pride in youth, trying to stay young. Seems innocent enough, because young is associated with health and vibrancy and enough energy. But youth, as the Buddha realized, gives way to aging. It's not very reliable. And in fact, one of the big awakenings was when he saw somebody his own age, actually, at age 29. He saw that person his own age who was quite ill, deathly ill, which can happen, of course, during this unprecedented period in our life. You can see that the pride in youth and the pride in health, that's the other one. Not very reliable, since health gives way to illness, inevitably. It's not an aberration. And then the third pride is the pride in life. Life gives way to death, at least death of the body. So when we go to the Buddha for refuge, we go to that in us which is deathless. Thich Nhat Hanh so beautifully speaks about as an actual practice reflection. He says this body, which is obviously subject to aging, illness, death, this body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born, and I have never died. Since beginningless time, I have always been free. So that silence in us has no birth, has no death, has no beginning, no end. No inside, no outside, no up, no down. But to know whether this is so, we have to take our medicine, look within the nature of our mind. In the Tibetan book of the Great Liberation, it say, look within the nature of the mind. It's clear. That's not usually what we think about when we think about our mind. We think about our busy thinking mind. And we often don't bother to look behind all the bluster of our mind. But the Tibetan book of the Great Liberation says, look within the nature of the mind. It's clear. It's open and empty, not made of anything. It's shining, contains all experience, but it's not limited or bound by it. It's free. And it's quiet. It's invisible, like empty space. But we have to look behind all the busyness, as the wonderful teacher, Sri Lankan monk Bhante Gunaratna says, it's the skill of seeing through the hollow shouting of your own impulses and piercing their secret. They have no power over you. It's all a show, a deception. Your urges scream and bluster at you. They cajole, they coax, they threaten, but they really carry no stick at all. You give in out of habit. You give in because you never really bother to look beyond the threat. It's all empty back there. There's only one way to learn this lesson. The words on this page won't do it. But look within the nature of the mind and notice the stuff coming up. Restlessness, anxiety, impatience, pain. Just notice it come up and don't get involved. Much to your surprise, it will simply go away. It rises, it passes away. As simple as that. There's another word for self-discipline. It is patience. So my wonderful partner, Annie, shares a lot of little readings. And this one she shared with me was from Aldous Huxley, that offers that invitation to look within the nature of the mind, but to meet our experience lightly. Says you're trying way too hard. Lightly, child, lightly, Aldous Huxley says. Learn to do everything lightly. Yes, feel lightly, even though you're feeling deeply. Just lightly let things happen, lightly cope with them. I was so preposterously serious in those days. Lightly, lightly. It's the best advice ever given to me. So throw away your baggage and go forward. There are quicksands all about you, sucking at your feet, trying to suck you down into fear and self-pity and despair. That's why you must walk so lightly, lightly, my darling. So the very nature of our mind is light. Lightly means bringing the light of awareness to our experience. Being aware of being aware. And then noticing the changing conditions of our mind and body and meeting them lightly. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Well, just again reiterating his words of my teacher Punjaji, who said, freedom waits, but most are interested in something else. So it's rare that we go home, that we really go home, stay home. Our mind tends to associate relief with what's next. But the good news is every time you notice your mind creating some condition for your sense of well-being, creating some obstacle or some problem to solve, let it remind you to listen to what's always already here. And don't, to the extent possible, just don't stray away from that. So I go to the Buddha for refuge. I go to the Dhamma for refuge, the way it is, the truth, the teachings that remind us to go to the Buddha for refuge. And I go to the Sangha, for the community that supports me and us to remind us that our true refuge is the silence that is always already. So just notice, look within the state, within the nature of your mind. And then rest your weary mind in this natural silence, this natural peace and ease. Thanks for listening.
Is it time for announcements?
Time for, I think maybe we'll even take a couple moments of questions. If anybody has any questions or comments, we haven't done that in a while. And feel free to use the raised hand function in the reactions place. If anybody has a question, comment, description, anybody wants to liberate their mind. 2 participants raise their hand. Mary, please.
Hi.
Thanks for
It's so
breaking
great
the
to
ice.
see you.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so wonderful. And I really needed it this week. Maybe it's because it was a full moon. I was feeling a little off for a day or so. Yeah. And there's a lot, a lot going on in the world. And it's a hard balance to be aware and be responsible and
Well
yet
said.
take care of yourself. It's
Well
difficult.
said.
That was so, well, you were well said. I don't see you as often, and I am reminded what a great teacher you are. Thank you so much. It was so beautiful.
Thank
Really.
you.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you too, Mary. Hope things are okay in Santa Barbara.
Yes, they are okay in Santa Barbara.
Great.
We need a little rain though. Too.
Yes. Thanks, Mary. Joe, please feel free.
Yes, thank you, Howie. I heard a talk today on the Zoom, and a woman I had not heard before, Karen Brailsford, and she, to footnote to your point about the life is not a worthiness exam, she said, always have a ta-da moment, which is when you realize that God is pleased with you and glad that you are here. You get to go, ta-da!
Okay.
A forward joy reminder.
Great. Ta-da. Thank you. Thank you. Always good to hear you, see you. Anyone else before we move into a gentle movement into announcements? So hopefully the quiet is you enjoying your quiet nature. Thank you, Nicole. Feel free.
Thank you, Howie. I needed tonight's talk too. I'm not quite sure how to say my question, but I think I'm able to arrive, for brief moments or maybe even 30 seconds or more at that sense of quiet awareness. But I don't find that it brings me the kind of comfort and sense of freedom and liberation that is suggested I might find. I even find, when I've been on retreats and I come to a place where every moment just seems almost like a miracle, I've had that experience. And yet so much of how I derive a sense of meaning and comfort in life is actually from the love I have for people, or the emotions I experience as Nicole, and so
That's all part of the same thing. That's life.
But I feel like, in a sense, the teachings are saying that that's a false, that those things I can't depend on. And my sense of me as Nicole is a false narrative. And
well, not the sense of you as Nicole, but the story of you as Nicole it can never capture the immediacy that you're describing, that feeling of being awake, that feeling of that felt sense. That's not easy to put in language. And it's certainly not one that is marked by deficiency and having to prove. It's given, it's offered to you. And it's also usually those moments of just knowing what we'll call it your Nicole-ness. They're moments that highly likely not to be marked by lack, not to be marked by the hindrances of associating your happiness with what's next. It's really about here. So it's the absence of defilements and the absence of, in some ways, the absence of torments in those moments. But then if you get used to that, then even the torments are just part of the expression of the nature of your mind, which is then everything's workable. It's when we don't stop and listen that we just get carried along by that stream of distress in our mind. And the story of Nicole, that's always it's often based on measuring. Am I okay? Am I not okay? Am I getting there? Am I not? That poem from Rumi where he says, live in the nowhere where you came from, even though you have an address here. He says, you have eyes that see from that nowhere, and you have eyes that judge distances, how high, how low, basically how you do it. He says, you own 2 shops and you keep running back and forth. He says in the poem, try to close the one that's a fearful trap. But I say, try to notice the one that's a fearful trap, always getting smaller, checkmate this, checkmate that. Keep open the one where you're not selling fish hooks anymore, where you're the free swimming fish. So those moments of just being Nicole, the felt sense of that, nothing to do about that. That's not any false narrative. That's just, here we are expressing life. So I don't know if that speaks to your question or not, but.
yes and no, I have much to learn, I suppose. but also,
I appreciate you raising the question. And
yeah, I think a lot of I have a niece named Nico, who I just love dearly, dearly. And yet I'm attached to Nico, and so, And yet Nico brings my life so much meaning. And, so that's okay.
It's all okay. I think that remember the invitation to come and see for yourself. What is that like? What's that like? It's not about right and wrong. It's not about getting less of this and more of that. It's about bringing that quiet, aware presence to that experience of Nico. Nico, did you say? And really take that in. And then see where it's sticky and where it's not. And anyway, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Pleasure. So, Catherine, thank you so much for being our host at Mission Dharma tonight. And
I've got a dog who's throwing a bone in the background. Let me just grab it.
it's all up to you. It's all
Come here, buddy. He likes to play with noisy toys when I turn off my, when I turn on my microphone. But he's having a great time. Just a couple quick things. One is we're hoping to find some volunteers to help us with kind of a backlog of getting our Dharma talks up on the web. And we're uploading them slowly to YouTube, but there are a lot of older talks without titles. And we like to have a title so that people can choose the one that draws their interest. So if you want to help, all you have to do is be able to watch a video on YouTube. Send us an email, and the email is in the chat, sf.mission.dharma@gmail.com. And the other thing is that we know it's on a lot of people's minds that people are asking about when are we going to be able to meet in person. And we just wanted to let you know that the board is thinking about this, and our board president, Mary Davis, is going to send out a survey sometime later this week to get the Sangha's thoughts on this. And so we can take that into account in our planning. And as always, I don't know, I was thinking a lot about gratitude today. One of my tasks as a manager at my job is to thank my entire team in a very detailed email when a project is about to launch. I make podcasts, and we have a podcast launching tomorrow. And I spent an hour and a half writing a gratitude email, and it overwhelmed me with appreciation for these people that I work with. And so just as a preface to how it really does open your heart to express gratitude in any way. So your volunteering for Mission Dharma would be so appreciated. And if you are so moved to donate, the way you can give dana is also in the chat. Thank you very much.
thank you,
for your
Catherine.
generosity.
Thanks for your generosity, and hope to see you soon. And please feel free to unmute and say good night to each other. It's one of our practices of dana. So thanks so much for the evening. Great being with you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody, I'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you, Howie.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Howie.
Bye.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you,
Night.
Howie. Thank you. Nice to
you.
see everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you. Sweet dreams, everyone. Thank you, Catherine, again.
You too.
Night all. Thanks, Howie.
Enjoy the rain.
Yes.
Wash away all of our miseries. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Where's the lead?